Good morning, good evening. Today is our April session for Sitecore User Group Columbus, and we have Madhu and Bala. Madhu and Bala are going to present navigating Coveo front-end framework for Sitecore integration. Now, just for a quick introduction for both of them are multiple time Sitecore Technology MVP. They are Coveo MVP and as well as digital experience MVP. So like MVPs all the way. And a very good friend of our user group, us as well. And we would love to have both of them on the session. So Bala and Madhu, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Maulik, for the amazing introduction. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, let me know if you're able to see the screen. Just a second.
Yeah, we are able to see it. Make it full screen, please. Yeah, the one right next to it.
Looking for one second. Just looking for the full screen mode. Okay, cool. Let me minimize this. Is everything looking good?
Yep, all good.
Awesome. Welcome to the user group SUG Columbus, which is always every month hosting it without failing. Thank you, Maulik and Himadri, for the opportunity. We really appreciate it. And today we are going to talk about navigating the Coveo front-end frameworks for Sitecore integration. Let's get started. Here we are. Bala.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Maulik and Himadri, thank you again for inviting us. It's been a pleasure always talking with our group, within our neighbors here. So I'm Bala. I'm a 5X Technology MVP, Coveo and DX. Other than that, my day job is practice director at CA, mostly focused on the content management systems. My Twitter handle is there, and then my blog is there. Back to you, Madhu.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you, Bala. Sorry. Here I am, Madhu Anbalagan. I'm a 6-time Sitecore Technology MVP, Coveo MVP, and a DX MVP. Work for a principal architect at Infosys. Here are the handles to reach out to me. Let's get started. So here is the agenda. So what we are going to do is we are going to talk about the Coveo, like some of the basics we are going to cover as well, because if you're new to Coveo, this is going to give a little bit introduction as well, like what is Coveo and how we can configure the Coveo crawler with different sources. It could be a Sitecore source or a website or a YouTube or a Jira, Confluence, like the source of truth could be anything. I'll show some different options with how we can do the Coveo crawler with APIs and website, or I would take like myself, my blog and Bala's blog as an example, and I'll show like how it crawls and everything. Similar to it, we'll talk about the resource snapshot, which is super helpful in the environments where whenever we wanted to migrate the index from non-production environments, like from UAT to stage or from QA to anywhere, from local to QA or anywhere, the resource snapshots are super helpful. Like within few minutes, you should be able to spin up the index pretty quickly. And with this, then we will go into the implementation. So whenever we want to implement the Coveo, we have few different options, and this is where customers get confused on like which one to pick. Because for the quick implementation has its own pros and cons, and full implementation, of course, it takes time, but it has the full features. So we will talk about like which one would be a best option for the customer based on the needs, of course. And at the end of it, we will give a demo as well with all the search options, all the frameworks, Hive, Atomic versus Headless. Because with Sitecore Headless, we always get confused that which one we should go for, and also with XM Cloud, which one we should pick for. So we will discuss everything and we'll give a demo as well. And with this, let's dive into the basics. So for the basics is starting with crawling and the indexing. So couple of sources. It could be a sitemap crawler or an API crawler. we can pick, like I'll show in the demo that what other sources are available, and we can pick and choose which source of truth you want. Once you pick it, it automatically figures out the sitemap for your website if it is available. If so, then it can we can ask them to switch to a sitemap so that it crawls index pretty fast and the content is also fresh all the time. So I'll show how the sitemap crawler is pretty efficient. Similar to it, we can have the API crawler as well, which once the API crawler is set up, we can store the JSON and we can reuse it in the other environments as well, which is also pretty efficient. And as well as when we do this, it pre-populates all the fields. We don't need to give the computed fields, like all the simple fields or the computed fields. We don't need to map each one of them. It auto-populates everything. And if you want, we can, if you don't like any of them, we can go ahead and modify it. But when we are starting with it, it automatically pre-populates all the computed fields, everything on its own. And of course, the index management, we can periodically rebuild or rescan with a nightly job, or however we want the content freshness, every day or a couple of days or only weekdays. It's up to the project that how they wanted it. So this is all about the basic indexing and crawling. And let's move on to the resource snapshots. This is one of my favorite section because it's, as the name says, it's a snapshot. It basically snapshots every single thing, including the fields, everything, whatever we have configured for the index, everything we can resource snapshot. And it gives a JSON as well. With this JSON, we can export to a file, and within few minutes, the complete index with the data is ready in the environment within few minutes. So cross or promotion or a target organization, JSON export, and source of organization, everything is pretty quick and resource snapshots. I'm sure you will love it. And let's dive into the demo part. Let me know if I'm going pretty fast because I wanted to focus on the demo rather than focus on the slides talking. Let me move on to the demo.
You are doing great.
Awesome. Thank you, Himadri. So here is our platform Coveo one. This is a trial one with my Gmail account. So anyone wants to explore Coveo, you can have the free trial account. It comes for 14 days. And we just created a sub-Columbus organization like this. We can create any organization you want. Which is also a 14-day trial period, and we can start indexing. You can experiment with your website sources. You can pretty much do everything, whatever the Coveo full license. It has some limitations, but pretty much you can do majority of the stuff. So today we just scanned our Bala's blog here, and you can see that it basically came with the sitemap. Here is my blog. I have tried it using the REST API call. Let me go into the details. So basically, when we try to add, here's where we go, add source. So here you have n number of sources. This is sky is the limit type of sources, whether it could be cloud, on demand, or anything. Or if you have a crawling module as well, with GraphQL, with REST API, anything, everything is possible here. And simply for my blog, I'm not going to create and all, but I'm just wanted to show how I'm going to do it. So say, for example, my blog, I'm just taking it as an example, and I can say that Madhu blog, and I can just put my URL, and you see that here, it's already given good news. Sitemaps are automatically detected. So basically we can switch to a sitemap source, and if there is an existing project, you can tie up to an existing project, and going into a next, and I mean, the security, whether you wanted to give it to everyone or you wanted to give it to the specific people. Generally, in our organization, that we go with an set of groups we have created, and once we add the source, it's gonna take few minutes to crawl everything, but yeah. So this is as created, and if I say save and rebuild source, it's gonna take few minutes to come up, but you can say that at initializing, it's gonna start everything. And this is what we done it in the morning. So as we can see the details over here, so it is the initial build, and then it took like 6 minutes and 24 seconds, and it shows like how many items are added, and its source, addition, provisioning, weight, update, mapping, everything as well. And when you need to rescan, you can just like click on it, and you can just say rescan. It's going to rescan the entire index within few minutes. Yeah, you can see that rescan will start soon. So this is the simple source within website, but we could go for a more complicated, like in REST API as well. So here what I did was, so my blog, the same thing, it's a WordPress blog. So what I did was, I just went for the API for all of my posts. So here you can see the whole JSON out there. So I just took this API, and here it's a JSON one, so we just need to configure it. But once you have configured it, it works like charm. So you can see that the URL is over here, and the path is the API path with v2/posts, and the method is get, and pretty much I think these are the only 3 I have changed. The rest all, I think I left it as it is, with default pagination as 10. Everything I just like simply left it as it is, and I said like save and rebuild source. So once we did that, it had like all of my items, like all of my blogs, and we can open in the content browser, and we can see like all of the blogs are over here, and we can search as well, like what is related to Coveo blog I have written. So you can see that the Coveo blogs I have written, anything you can search for it. So pretty much when the content authors or marketing team says that, oh, we have published an article, but we don't see that on the website. So pretty much we come here on the content browser and we search for that article. If it is not there, then it's not there in the index. So we need to like look into it, why it didn't rescan or anything. But for a quick check, this is where we come and we search, and we see that whether it's there in the index or not. So content browser is pretty helpful tool when we troubleshoot any of the indexing problems. And this is how the REST API calls are. And similar to it, this morning when we started it, it took only 40 seconds since it's an API, and the items added. You could see that like how pretty quick it is. With 40 seconds, it scanned the whole blog. So this is how basically you add any source according to the project, and you can configure it either by API or a regular one, or and also you can rescan it whenever you want, and basically you can schedule a periodic interval as well to rebuild or rescan or refresh to see what makes sense to the project. So with this, let me move on to the resource snapshot. Resource snapshot is at the bottom of the index. So here, today morning, again, we have done the demo of, we have created the snapshot with as a demo snapshot. But to create a snapshot, it's pretty easy. We just need to select like which fields we want, extensions, query pipelines. Basically, like you can pick like everything you want, and you can just name it what you want and create a snapshot. It creates in few minutes, and basically you can download the JSON file as well. Once it's created, it validates everything as well, like how many fields are there, how many mappings, like everything is over here. And when we say that continue to apply screenshot, it will apply to the environment we want. So here we don't have a, like, since it's a demo environment, we don't have a non-prod, like two different environments. I mean, we have two different organizations, but within an organization, if we have, we can move between the organization as well, but typically we just move between the, inside the organization, we just move between the environments. So so this is super helpful when you're like playing around with your indexing on your local, and when you know that everything works well, you can pretty much snapshot it and take the JSON file, and you can see that, like, here from a file, and choose a file. So here you can choose a JSON file, and it creates the index within few minutes. So this is all about the Coveo basics of like how to create a crawler and how we can take the snapshots and everything. With this, I will hand it over to Bala. Just a second, let me stop sharing.
Okay, moving on from the demo. We have a couple of options, like we spoke in the agenda. We have a quick implementation option, and then also we have a full implementation option. So we'll take a quick look at that. So when you say quick implementation option, as we are looking at a timeline of 1 to 3 weeks. This is more like once you get the licensing from Coveo, you want to spin up something pretty quickly, and then you can do like a phased approach where you get the basics working first, get something out to the business, they can use it, and then you go for a full implementation, which is, again, we look into the details. So when you do quick implementation, how could you achieve that within that speculated time frame? So the first one option is to use out-of-the-box search pages, which is part of Coveo. I will give a quick demo on that. Basically, this is pre-built pages with all the JavaScript components. You could just drag and drop, create a quick UI for Coveo, and then you could immediately use them. The second option is JavaScript injection method, which is something similar to this. Use the search pages, you could use the JavaScript injection. For example, I have a scenario where I want to quickly add Coveo to my WordPress page, which is non-Sitecore. In that case, I could just take a small snippet of JavaScript, inject on the page, and then it quickly works. It's a quick way to implement it. It doesn't take that long. Like when Madhu was showing the demo, she built everything. All the sources are created. You could see like possibly like within 30 minutes or so, and then you could create a quick page, and then you can get up and running in pretty quick time. This all depends on the requirements as well. If you're having complex requirements, it might take time. In this case, I'm just telling, like, if you don't have, recently I came across a client who had no search experience. In that case, like, we were able to quickly crawl the site, throw in a Coveo search page, get things rolling for them, which is much better than not having anything. And after that, they would go for like a full implementation mode. This is a quick screenshot how you can create it. When you go into the Coveo platform, you have a search pages option on the left navigation. Once you click on that, you have a simple builder, and then you have a classic builder. Simple builder is more like a restricted. You don't have access to styling or I would say the HTML kind of code or anything at all. Basic page only you can create. But when you go to the classic interface editor, it gives you entire HTML code, and you have much more you can customize it. So it depends on what you prefer, but simple builder is new, which is based on the headless framework. So probably use that as the recommended way. If you have Sitecore and you want to use this Coveo hosted search page, it's much simple. If you have installed Coveo Hive version 5 and above, you would get this option when you're adding a component. Coveo hosted search page, basically you select that, and then the next option you would be able to choose a page, and then you can use it on a Sitecore page. So this is the non-Sitecore Coveo hosted page option. You can see this directly coming from the hosted page. There is a JavaScript getting injected on the page, and then you just have a div or a hosted search page element, and then below that you have like 3 or 4 lines of code. Basically, you need to give your Coveo org ID, pages API key, and hosted sage page ID, which is going to be a GUID. I will show you in the demo. And then eventually in the script loaded, you could see that it gets instantiated. So this piece of code, once you throw it on any site, doesn't matter if it has to be Sitecore or any other platform, doesn't matter. The next one we are going into is a full implementation. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks or more. It depends on what customizations you need to do. So we have 3 options here that you can go with. Coveo Hive, traditional Sitecore integrated experience, but keep in mind Coveo Hive has been deprecated, so they don't support it anymore, or new versions are not coming out. So if you have an existing implementation with MVC, you could use that. So anything you go with the new Coveo the Sitecore Headless platform, then you have to pick between Atomic or Headless. Atomic is more like a web component library, and it can be used with React, Next, Angular, and different platforms. Coveo Headless, it's much more flexible. It's not web component, but it's going to be a raw React or Next.js, and you should be building everything by yourself. So getting into this topic, like what is the right framework? Which one should I pick over the other? So when you're building a simple user interface, if that is not too complicated, if you just want to go with the latest, probably your recommended practice is to use Atomic. If you see, it is built upon Headless, and the Headless platform is depending on the REST API endpoints directly, endpoints directly from Coveo. In the older, like if you see Coveo Hive, that is dependent on the JS search framework, and you can see that it cannot be combined with Atomic. It's its own. So between Atomic and Headless, can I use in combination? Yes, you can use in combination, or you could directly use Atomic as well. Moving on the decision matrix, like which one should I pick? You have these 3 options like Hive, Headless, and Atomic. Hive is the quickest, complexity is low, but flexibility is also low because it's all pre-built coming with Coveo, or you need to do with MVC or ASP.NET. You could use Hive. Moving on to Headless, it's custom interfaces. Complexity is high, flexibility is also high. The main reason behind this is Headless is raw and everything you have to build from scratch. And also keep in mind there is a GitHub project from Coveo that you can use. So it's not something like you're going to build everything raw from scratch. So certain things are already available, but it's highly customizable. Atomic is pretty medium and medium flexibility. The main reason is its web components, and internally it uses Shadow DOM. So it's not going to have much flexibility when you want to customize something. You want to do more styling, or you want to have different kind of implementation. Whatever Coveo has exposed as classes, that's the only one you can touch, but you cannot go because it runs, in simple terms, I would say it runs like a small iframe within your DOM. So you don't have access to everything when you're doing any styling. Like I spoke before, legacy framework, Coveo for Sitecore 5 and above. Maintenance challenges, it's a traditional approach. They're not going to give any more security updates or anything. So it's not highly recommended, and we should move away from it. Simplest thing is like it would be installed as a Sitecore package. So once you install that, it will give you the access. And experience editor integration is available with that. So you can do fully everything like properly experience editor way of doing it. This is a simple Coveo Hive structure. So basically you start with the frame, and then you have header section, UI. Main section, within that you can have search, tabs, facets, and results. You also have a footer and footer section. So it's like a well-organized one. It's not everything is available out of the box. Moving on to Coveo Hive, and this one is again showing within an experience editor. You can clearly see how these things are organized. And on the top, you can see there are certain mandatory components that you can add. On the left-hand side, you can see in the structure, typically this is how it lays out. You have a parameters folder, and there are different set of folders created, and then you can have global or a particular page specific resources you could use. Moving on to Coveo Atomic framework. We spoke before, it's a web component library. It's framework agnostic components with modern standards, more like a HTML5 based components. It can be deployed in React, Angular, Vue, or vanilla JavaScript. Anything can be used. It's a controller architecture. There are certain implementation available. I'll show you in the demo, and it has a lot of comprehensive documentation, so you don't have to worry about it. The technical limitations that you need to be aware of, like I spoke before, the shadowed DOM boundaries create styling challenges, and custom styling requires specific approaches and workarounds. So in my personal experience, I've done all three implementations multiple times, and even one time we did an Atomic entire implementation in the initial days, and then we realized it's really hard for us to customize it, and then we moved back into the headless. So that's the reason I'm trying to explain, like if you don't have like hard requirements, then it might be okay to go with Atomic, or that's the recommended approach. But if you have too much of customization, you have a lot of other things, then probably you should do that. Like Atomic internally relies on Coveo Headless, so it is built on top of it more like a wrapper. And then the outcome is all the web components. Internally, everything talks to the Coveo API. The more you go closer, the increased complexity it is. Atomic is much easier. Headless is a little bit complex. And if you want to directly interact with Coveo API with your own approach, yes, you can do that. That is much more complicated. Just to show a quick example of your Atomic implementation. This you can see that it's using Atomic ESM.js in the reference up top, and then the Coveo styles are there. And it's, if you compare it, it's closer to the Coveo Hive implementation, like using those pages. Initially, I showed the other demo. It's something similar to that, but you can see in the body directly, you're using specific tags like Atomic search interface, and all these components are web components. Once you have those two JavaScript and the styles referenced, you could go and build your entire interface directly like this, and then you could start using it. Styling the component, you can see this one is clearly using a shadow DOM, so Atomic facets. That particular part, label button, that is exposed to you so that you could go and make those changes. But if there is a specific portion that if that is not exposed, then you cannot go and style those areas. So you are purely dependent on what Coveo is exposing you to make changes. Moving on to the headless framework. This is more like a React component library, but with Next.js and other platforms as well. It's built with Material UI component. It has much more customizable presentation layer. It has flexible integration patterns that you could define and design your own components, and you could use it. It's again controller architecture. You have the search controllers. State management is built in, extensible behavior models. You could extend it and use it. Resources available code sandbox, and the GitHub source code also is available for that. Do a quick demo here. Let's clean this up. Okay, yeah, I do have it here. This is the one, like Madhu said, the sitemap. The crawling is completed. It has more items here. First one we will look into is search pages. So if you go in the navigation, if you look at the search, then you have search pages here. I spoke before, you click on add search page. This you have a simple builder, a legacy interface, and now this one is a code only that you can build outside. This one we will go with the, I'll quickly show the legacy simple builder. About that, this particular, when you go into the pages, it's more like it needs you to log in again. Okay, so here we go. So we have the search result, like this is the new way of building it. So click the wrong button here. So you can see this, you have the layouts, you can change things right away. And then you can also add templates here. So you click on add template. The due template here, add the details, what fields you want to show, and then eventually you can add the new template. You can also have a condition. So where you want to say like, I want this, so I could say like, I want the source and it needs to be must match. And then you can say Bala blog or whatever you can say, and then I can have a different set of rules. This is a quick way and go into detail. Also, you can turn on the quick view, which gives this icon. When you click on that, it automatically opens the site and then shows as a pop-up. So you're not navigating away. Okay, you can see this. It's loading up here. And then if you go into the filtering options, again, you can add source, and this is what you see here. More like facets, you can turn it off or on. And you can add new facets, and the same goes with the sorting as well. And then moving on to the styling, you can see there are some basic level of styling being allowed here that you can change. Then moving on to the settings, what search hub, query history, query suggestions. My search hub is going to be simple, or you can add anything. And then you can see there is a loader script that you can use. And this is script, if you reference, then you can directly use this. So this is a quick demo on your simple interface. Let's quickly look into the legacy editor for a comparison. Let's do an edit here. Interface editor. So if you look here, this is the legacy interface editor. You first directly you have access to the code, so you can add any HTML here, and then you can clearly see all the styling, everything you can do. And also you can have a CSS reference and add a class, and however you want. You have much more customization options here. If you click on each one of them, it's something similar. So you can see all the options available for that particular facet. And then on the right, you see all these different components here. If I need another facet, then probably I can drag and drop here. So it gets added. And then I can choose the source field. So you can see that simply it just created it. And then I can delete this one. And then moving on, if you click on any component, then each one of those components, you have these options that you can edit. The same quick view option is there. And if I don't want to just edit this template, so here I could just go ahead and say like, I don't want this icon. Then I can click, don't want this icon, and then I can click on delete. And then the whole quick view I don't want. Then hit apply. So now you can see it right away changes it. And the same way you can have multiple templates. That is also a possibility. So you can go here. This particular template, it is different, but also you get an option to look into the template, what fields you're getting into. So it gives much more flexibility when you're doing all these dynamic stuff. So moving on from that. So let me take Coveo's example here. So I will build this. Coveo has this already available. Just taking a headless as an option. So you can clearly see it starts with React, and you have a lot more components here. All these components are defined, like each one of those components that we were seeing in the search pages, they do have all those things also here. So each of those components, all these code is available in GitHub. So you're not going to build everything, but you can see it's too raw, and every click, even everything you need to do with that. And then if you go into the app, so this engine is something is where you are getting it started, like the organization ID or access token. That's where it get initialized. And then this is the engine that we would be using it in our actual app, wherever you're using the search. So the first thing is they take the headless engine here, and then the engine is instantiated, and then the same engine is being passed to the other components as a starting point. And then you can use your search box, facets, and everything you can get used here. Hope that makes sense. This is available directly, and then you can also see the Coveo Headless package is being referenced in this project with the MUI, material UI. And on the right-hand side, you can see clearly it's a fully functional search interface. And this is the entire code here, one of the facets. And then you have the engine that we talked through, and then the actual index itself. So moving on to the Atomic example, just as a comparison to the same way, you can clearly see the module is being injected, style sheets are being injected, and you can see there is nothing much code here. It's just a index HTML. You don't have facets, nothing, like everything is already predefined. So it just gives these details, instantiate, and then it works. And clearly you can see how the facets are being customized, or the styling for the shadow DOM. This is where we are doing all the stuff. And all the Atomic components are here. And one major thing I wanted to highlight is when you deal with Atomic, if you're specifically working with a company that needs WCAG compliance or anything related to healthcare, in my personal opinion, Atomic might not be a good fit because it is not fully WCAG compliant. When I say that, it's more like an accessibility related requirements most of the healthcare industry would need. So that is not fully covered in Atomic. So in that situation, choosing headless over Atomic might make more sense. It's going to take a toll on the implementation, the developer. You can see the code base, a lot of things you need to do, but that gives much more flexibility for you to do that. I think one more thing I want to show. Sorry, I didn't open it. So most of the search UI is available here. The search UI project is all Coveo project, and I want to show something. Sorry, I didn't have it open, but all the code for the headless components that I was showing you is available already in their project. So you're not going to build everything from scratch. So a lot of people get confused between like, hey, if I'm starting a headless project like the one I showed here, should I go and build all this facet TSX? Like if you're building everything from scratch, it's going to take way long time. But all these components are already pre-built. At least I was able to pull a lot of things from their search UI project. That's an open source project. From there, you can pull all the component related code and then use that as your starter for your headless project. That makes sense. Moving back to our over here. So before we go into this conclusion, like the whole point of this talk is about choosing which one is the right fit. So each one has its own advantage and disadvantages. Just to give a quick recap, you're going to go with the Coveo Hive if you are already with MVC or ASP.NET. Between Headless and Atomic, depending on your requirements and the time, Headless is a bit more complicated, but it has its own advantages of compliance. It's much more customizable, accessibility related. If those things are important to you, Headless might be a good option. But if it is a basic bare minimal requirement, you can either stick with Coveo hosted pages, or even you can go with the Coveo Atomic, if that makes sense. Okay, I think that's all we had. I will open it up for questions.
It's great presentation, guys. So I will let the audience see if anyone has any questions. I don't have a question, but maybe we can discuss something based on what you showed.
Yeah, absolutely, Himadri, open to it.
Okay, so this is great, right? I mean, they provided obviously headless and an atomic framework, and as you said, like Atomic has less flexibility, right? I mean, you get everything out of the box, and then you use it. Then you have you see some issues or restriction with making it working as you want it. So considering the AI and stuff, like cursor and other tools now we have, and the concept of vibe coding, what do you think? Like I feel like we should, most of the time we should go with the headless, because it used to be different before, right? The reason you create that kind of UI component and everything, because it takes a lot less time to implement something within 1 to 3 weeks. But that actually changed with the vibe coding, right? You really don't code much.
Yeah.
You actually use tools like Cursor, or there was many tools, right? Even Gemini came up with a VS Code plugin. So do you think that headless is most of the cases is a good choice, and use the AI tools to generate your code, because you will have the...
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I don't recommend Atomic for my clients because I learned it the hard way. The whole point of this talk is I have a lot of people from community I've spoken to, have reached, and I have personal sessions even with different partners. Generally, they would ask, hey, Bala, what do you think? Like, what is your experience? And that's the whole point of the idea came through, is like, we need to teach people about what is good, what are the plus and minus, so that they don't go learn themselves the hard way. Because I personally did an implementation with JSS when it launched, and we did an implementation for one of the clients. We did entirely everything in Atomic. You won't believe, once everything went live, the next sprint we scrapped it and entirely rewrote everything in Headless. I personally sat and said, like, see, we made a mistake. We don't have to go with it. Let's scrap the project and we will do it. And within a sprint, we were able to build it. So I'm saying in that case, it was more like taking their existing code base. Like initially, I had no idea of where this headless source code is. Like, why should I build everything? Even a click event, tracking, a lot of other things are there. But considering their GitHub open project, like a lot of people don't, I searched it for a long time to figure it out how to get started on that. And we were able to use it. Personally, after that, I've not done any Atomic. Everything we have done is so far headless, because it gives much more flexibility for us. And once you build, like one time you do that, then you see that how easy it is to take it forward for other clients or wherever you're doing. The first time it might look overwhelming, like the engine or whatever structure I showed you. Like one time you build those components, it makes much easier for your life. I personally recommend headless. If that's the way to go, because Atomic has a lot of limitations, and we did reach out to Coveo for the accessibility related questions. It wasn't their priority for like considering all the accessibility related standards should be there within that component. Because each client and each industry is different. So my choice is always go headless. And if you want something quick, any client, anytime you get a Coveo project, first thing is do the 1 to 3 weeks, 1 to 3 weeks quick implementation. Like Madhu was creating a source, create a search page, you can be up and running hardly within a day, I would say. Get something quickly started. So clients get the value, and then eventually there are a lot of things like don't crawl the header, don't crawl the footer, don't like no crawl, no index, and a lot of other things are there. So those kind of scenarios is what I would say, like go with the 6 to 8 weeks implementation. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah. I guess like, complexity, like, depends on integration also, like, if you are bringing more systems to your search, so that you have to, but considering like, what you said, like, it took you some time to figure out how to implement on the top of headless, and that's exactly what AI tool does, right? I mean, when you're writing code, cursor already like, crawled all this code, and it knows like, it will generate code for you. And time, like, the Atomic framework used to save time for you. That is not an OD anymore, because you will be generating the much better code, flexible way of doing things with using the AI.
That is true. And also one other thing I want to share is like I ran into a situation when Coveo for Hive above 5 doesn't support ASP.NET, not the MVC, the old school. I don't even want to spell it, but there are still some sites running on ASP.NET, like the old one. We ran into a situation, we need to do a Coveo upgrade, but client had like both ASP.NET and MVC. So all the MVC we were able to move into the Hive, the experience into whatever I was showing. But when we have to deal with these few sites which are in ASP.NET, then we did like a hybrid between search pages and Coveo Hive. So it was easier integration, and then we like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll do all the customization in the search page and get that injected on the page.
Yeah. So the other thing is like, it's not really related to this particular session, but like, I want to know Coveo, what their take on this, because search is changing. Like, I mean, recently every one of us used to do Google search, right? Few years back. And we spend a lot of time now on perplexity or like, in ChatGPT or any sort of AI LLM tool to actually get answer to questions, right? Even like I have seen application built for the commerce site where user is typing and asking for recommendation and searching for product and things like that, like, and AI is able to find exact match for the customer. So the search is actually changing. It is no more like, you find out, it is the tool AI finding things for you. So what Coveo, do you know, like, Coveo is
from Coveo aspect, they do have something called RGA, generative answering, and behind the scenes internally it uses OpenAI. Technically I know how it's implemented, but most of the things, it's pulling all the semantic index that we already crawled, because Coveo has the entire data with it. So they were able to feed it back into OpenAI and then more bring like an RGA kind of an experience.
You mean RAG?
RAG, yeah. RAG, I said RGA.
Right. Okay.
So in this case, they call it as generative answering. RGA is the term specifically for Coveo. That's the way they call it. So it's basically like a ChatGPT kind of a thing. In Coveo search, when you, I think their, if you check their documentation, would be a good demo. where you can start typing and then it automatically gives you all the recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, RAG is what you want to do, like, LLM is in the public domain, right? I mean, you are asking for a question, whatever the model crawled before, it will find the answer for you. But if you are asking a question based on a specific document in your organization, LLM doesn't have any way to, like,
This is the
find
one I
that,
was talking through.
right? So, okay.
And then if headless, if you start typing, this question here, I would say like, okay, get me the answer for this.
Uh-huh.
And it gives me more recommendations, but I'm just trying to see headless. Yeah, right here. Sorry, it came through. So this is a generated answer. You can say show more.
Okay.
And it also gives where it picked up those information from.
That's great. Actually, so they does support retrieval augmented generation. So
yep. And if it is not there, or if you don't like it, you can turn it off. And if it is not finding in information, it is not going to hallucinate, and it's going to pull all this information only from the sources that you have given, or like only from the index that you have given as sources. So it's not going out in the internet or doing anything, and it's targeted only for your data.
Correct. Yeah, that's the idea of RAG actually. So yeah, that's great to know. Awesome. Anyone else has any question? No? Great. Thanks for showing us all these cool things.
Okay. Absolutely, Himadri. I just want to share this knowledge. I've personally been asked this question multiple times, which framework to choose or what is your experience. So I thought like, let's talk to everyone and explain these things. Thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely very useful.
Thank you, guys.
Same here, Madhu and Molly.
All right. We'll
This is
have
like a pleasure